Saraband was an idea I got from a Bach piece called Saraband Bourrée, and so all my bands that were hoping to get a gig at the local cricket pitch or local dog and bucket. One of the band names was Saraband, and that band became called all sorts of things, but it never really left rehearsal rooms. I was attending printing college one day a week, and I met a guy called Steve Tobin who became a lifelong pal, and he said, "Oh, there's a mate of mine's got a band, they're looking for a replacement guitarist," and his name, I think, was Malcolm Ironson, I think, and it seemed as if he didn't want to be with the band anymore, but what he wanted was someone who could stand there and sing and play guitar at the same time. Well, I could play guitar. I didn't learn to sing for another 40 or 50 years after that. It took me a very long time, very slow boy to learn to sing. So I was deemed to be not quite right as the guy who might take over from him. And so he stayed in the band. But they liked what I did on guitar and they liked what I did on harmonica. So I would get up and be the guest spot soloist every now and again, and we did do some very dodgy gigs. I think the worst was in a place, it was a sort of working man's club called the Four Feathers Club at the back of Edgware Road Tube, which isn't there anymore, and I gather it was the band were hired to play at what subsequently became known as a shotgun wedding. So both sets of guests were ready to just sort of slay each other. And instead of hiring a band that could play The Last Waltz and Engelbert's latest hits, they hired Canterbury Glass. And they didn't really like what the band played. So they said, "Oh, can you play this and can you play that?" And the band weren't having any of it. And whilst I was off stage, because I was only about to get up and play my harmonica solo, the singer and the guitarist decided to get hold of the mics and start running them up and down the PA columns in a very confrontational, freak-out 60s sort of way. So I seem to remember it being like a scene from the Wild West where at least half the guests seemed to rush the stage and start dragging out the leads out of amplifiers, and it turned into a punch-up and the police were called. Welcome to the world of rock and roll. It was, yeah, I was lucky. I was off stage, nothing to do with me, mate. Now, there have been things that have shown up on record, Canterbury Glass, and I'm apparently on them. But I'm not sure if it's me or not, because I think I only ever heard those things once, and it was probably recorded on a home tape recorder in someone's bathroom or something. So, but these things surface, and I think there's some guy in there who's just discovered he's got a wah-wah pedal, and he's going wah, wah, wah on every note. So I've got the porn pedal going, if it's me. But then again, I don't know, it was a very long time ago. Three guys who were English but grew up in South Africa had put together a band to make an album for Pi Records, who were very strong at the time. Pi used to make washing machines, TVs, various things, and you'd go along to a record shop if you were buying in those days, and somewhere you'd find some brown cardboard boxes, and you'd have to sift through to find records of your choice in there. Nothing was even alphabetical in those days, never mind genre driven. But these guys answered one of my ads in Melody Maker, 5 years worth of ads in Melody Maker, and they said, we've got a recording contract. Now, at that point, from the age of 16 to 20, I'd been trying to form a band and do gigs, and it was the first time anyone mentioned a recording contract, so I thought, this could be great, I need this experience. I mean, I suspect if they'd been a punk outfit, I would have said, yeah, okay, I'll get that spiky haircut and bone through the nose. Quite well. It was interesting. I was extremely green. I really didn't know what you did in a recording studio. And they played a joke on me at the time. I think it was Alan Lawrence who was the house engineer there. I did this take, did something, and I went back into the control room, and Alan said, and he had his pile of tapes, he said, "I'm afraid it all went wrong, Steve." I went, "Oh no." And it was a total wind-up, which they did with everyone who was first time in a recording studio. So, sorry about your album. But it was, it was fascinating to me. The producer was a guy called John Schroeder, who had a hit with a thing called "Cast Your Fate to the Wind," one of my mother's favourite piano pieces at the time. Now, he'd worked with Jimmy Page, and he started giving me work. He started giving me sessions. He said, "Working with you, it reminds me of working with Jimmy Page." He said, "The nice thing about Jimmy is even if I'm working on a such and such session, he always gives me everything," sort of thing. So I did one or two guitar and harmonica things for him. And again, that was very nice for my confidence because, again, I hadn't played a gig in my life really, apart from, the odd pleasure boat up the Thames. And so again, I was not very experienced.